Hello everyone and welcome back once again to the channel. As always, I hope you're all having a fantastic day so far. I'm sure that after having watched the new Top Gun Maverick, all of you probably felt a sudden urge to load up your sims and jump straight into an F-18 to do some cool maneuvers like flying through a canyon at high speed or land on an aircraft carrier. Luckily for us, right at the time the movie came out, the team from Asobo and Microsoft released a completely free DLC for the sim, which includes a bunch of challenges and tutorials for the F-18, which they had already released a while back. Not only did we get a brand new aircraft for the sim and a new livery for the F-18, but we also got a very fun carrier landing challenge as well. This is by far the most difficult challenge in the entire sim so far, but also the most rewarding, and it really puts your virtual flying skills to the test. Just like in the real world, landing on a moving ship in the middle of the ocean and having to aim for a very thin wire requires a lot of accuracy, and in order to do it by the book you really need to be on top of your game at all times. If you haven't played other sims like DCS before and you are completely new to carrier landings, it will probably require quite a bit of practice at first, especially if you are new to flight sim entirely. And so that's why in this video I'll be giving you guys a couple of tips and tricks to make this learning process a bit more fun and less prolonged, so you can get the most out of the experience, so stay tuned for that. If you are new to the channel, be sure to do a touch and go on that subscribe button, along with the bell icon so you never miss out on any new content, and also don't forget to like the video if you found it helpful. It would be greatly appreciated. Now without further ado, let's catch that third wire. So there are a couple of things about landing on an aircraft carrier that you need to know beforehand, which will make mastering your landings a lot quicker and more fun. Let us start by taking a look at the visual guidance you will get. As explained right before you press fly in the sim itself, carriers use the FLOLS system to provide you with visual guidance to keep you on the right glide slope. It works similar to the PAPI lights, which if you are an avid airliner guy like me, you most definitely know how to use. However, there is something that takes a bit of getting used to, and that is the fact that the yellow light in the middle doesn't actually represent the glide slope, but rather your own aircraft. At first, when I started doing carrier landings and I saw the yellow ball shoot upward, my first instinct from flying airliners all the time was to pull back on the stick, because to me it felt like it was the same as the glide slope indicator in an airliner going up. But when landing on a carrier, this is not the case. If you see the yellow ball go above the green lights, you are supposed to lower the nose of the aircraft, because the yellow light is your aircraft and the green lights represent the glide path. This for me took a bit of adjusting, but you'll get the hang of it pretty soon when you use it a couple of times. Also, something that differs from normal landings is the importance of your angle of attack. Not only do you have to keep your speed at 120 knots during the approach, but you also need to make sure that the angle of attack indicators show an orange circle. The reason why this is important is because in order to catch the wire on the deck, the aircraft uses a hook at the back of the airplane, which catches the wire. But if your angle is either too shallow or too high, the hook won't catch it, and you'll have to so-called bolter. If you see a green arrow pointing either up or down, this is telling you to either increase or decrease your angle of attack respectively. If you maintain a speed of 120 knots and are stable on the glide slope, the angle of attack should be okay, most of the time. But if this isn't the case, then you either need to change your speed or change your pitch, because one of the two is probably going to be off. What I learned while trying to land on an aircraft carrier was that being an avid airliner guy doesn't really help you a lot, because there's yet another reflex that you need to throw out of the window to succeed at carrier landings, and that's the flare. The goal is to not flare at all when landing on the deck. You just need to keep your eye on the ball and fly the aircraft all the way down until it catches the wire. This will surely result in a very hard landing, but you're a Top Gun pilot after all, so you should be able to handle it. And the aircraft sure does, as it was designed especially for this. Also, don't idle the thrust right before touchdown like you would do in a 737 for example. This is another instinct that we don't want here. And as soon as you touch down, increase the throttle all the way to maximum or mil power. The reason they do it like that is because if you fail to catch the wire, you can take off again right away and you'll have all the thrust you need so you don't stall the aircraft. So those were the basics of landing on an aircraft carrier, which are also explained in the sim itself. Now a few extra tips. A common misconception that some of you might have is that you should always aim for the first wire, but this is dead wrong. If you catch the first wire, then you were way too low on the approach and were just a couple of feet short of flying into the aircraft carrier itself instead of on the deck. What you really want to aim for is the third wire, ideally. If you can catch this wire practically every time, then you are truly a great pilot. If you constantly find yourself falling just short of the wires or you overshoot them, here's a tip that will improve your performance drastically. What I often see inexperienced simmers do when flying any aircraft is that they make very aggressive and large inputs on the yoke or flight stick. While you should definitely react quickly when you see your aircraft getting too low or too high or too much to the left or right, make sure you keep it nice and easy and make very slight adjustments. This is true for all types of flying, but especially carrier landings, as you really need to be precise. So next time you try and land on a carrier, treat your yoke or flight stick like it's 10 years old and is about to fall apart, and make very small control movements. Something that will definitely help with this is making sure that your aircraft is trimmed out nicely. And whenever you change the thrust setting, be sure to retrim the aircraft right away as well. But again, nothing too much, just small adjustments. If you have your aircraft nicely in trim and you are on the glide slope, don't be afraid to just let the aircraft fly itself without touching the controls. If the aircraft is flying where you want it to, there's no need to make adjustments at all. One final tip I have to offer is to use the throttle or for pitch changes. When you see that you are a bit too high or too low, instead of pushing down or pulling on the stick, increase or decrease the thrust a little bit instead. This will pitch your nose to the right attitude while also maintaining the right speed. This is just a more efficient way of flying, as by using the thrust for pitch control you are doing two separate actions with one easy movement. You're pitching the aircraft to the right attitude and adjusting the speed at the same time. Whereas if you were to use the flight stick to pitch up or down, instead you would still need to adjust the throttle as well to maintain speed, but in that case you had to do two separate actions instead of just one. It's a small thing, but this can make your flying a little bit easier on you, so it might be worth trying out. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. I hope you found this helpful and that by following these few simple steps, you will be able to learn carrier landings a lot quicker. Be sure to let me know in the comment section if I forgot any tips or if I explained something a little bit too short, because I'm more than happy to give you some extra explanation. If you haven't already, also be sure to subscribe to the channel, it would help out a lot and would be greatly appreciated. For now, happy flying to all of you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya!